Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Haslam, and I'm here with Boyan.
Good
It's been a little
evening.
while. Welcome, Boyan. It's been a little while. This is the Fractal Sovereignty podcast. We are primarily a Holochain podcast, and we want to do some commentary on technology in general, and why Holochain is important, and kind of just offer some insight from two people that have been here since the beginning, really. I'm the founder of a project in Holochain world called Hive, and Boyan is one of the OGs. So let's get into it. Boyan, how's it going, mate? How's the last 6 years in Holochain world been going?
Yeah, well, it's been quite a journey, especially
Yeah,
personal. I've been the past years, yeah, over a year, about a year, moving quite a lot, traveling with my family. Took a year off. I live normally. I'm based in the Netherlands. I'm just a few months, yeah, a few weeks ago back in Europe, and it's been interesting. Not following so much in the past while traveling. But seeing that Unique, you've been quite involved in the past few months, especially, and it's really good to be back with you and discuss and to learn what's been going
yeah.
on in the past months and years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess there is a lot to talk about, and let's get straight into the elephant in the room. Is that Holochain and Holo have been delayed since we were talking. If people remember, so we had a staff of 10 and working full time, and during the ICO, and as soon as and we just exited from our previous company, an affiliate marketing company. Um, and basically I was looking for ways to bring a lot of different ideas together, but and a few of the themes that aren't so technology related but related to the intent, are preserving wisdom stories. I was traveling around the world, going to places like Egypt, and one of the insights that I had was that it costs a lot of money to go around the world and to find the right elders and the right wisdom keepers, and then and to support them as well. And so we were looking at like a range of technologies, going from virtual reality to other things, and then the preservation of knowledge and wisdom, and information, through all kinds of different events, whether it be hacking or some kind of world event, from internet shutdowns to cataclysms, you name it. And I guess I'd done quite a lot of personal time to get down into root causes of things that I believed were going on in the world, and how I could provide a solution to that. And one of the things that I arrived at was that until we have the ability to connect directly with a source of information, and to receive it, and without it being interfered with, then we're not going to be able to do much about it. And so I was looking at like a wide range of issues, and seeing that how that could, through propaganda and through control systems, through the control of the media, and all of this kind of thing, things can be hijacked and things can be swayed in certain directions. And
We've
so,
we've
and
we've covered quite a long part of that road already for the past, I don't know, 10 years, 6 years, 5 years, and now
yeah,
it's really accelerating that direction.
yeah, as Catherine Austin Fitch would say, we need a clear map to be able to design solutions. And then back in 2018, we were also talking about AI, and we had Belinda on here as well, and that was
Yeah,
one of
I
the things that
remember.
she was very passionate about. It's now 2025, and so we set up this, which was the first Holochain podcast at the time. And just so people know, I mentioned these things like the first podcast and all that kind of thing is because I want to make sure that history isn't rewritten. And so we were here first. So call me egocentric or arrogant or whatever. But and so there's been a wide range of delays. Being the first ones in the ecosystem. And driving it forward, having this full-time team and resources dedicated to it. I'd say that we honestly we copped the brunt of it, more than anyone else. It's been a journey, So we had different releases, we had different testings of the app. In recent times, we've connected with Dark Soil, and I think that they've really, I would say that at the moment, Dark Soil is, in my opinion, the shining light in the ecosystem. They're doing great work. They're building very important pieces of the technology stack, and they're doing it in a way that actually works. And they're also doing it in a way to repurpose the pieces that they're building, which is what we always talked about with modular design, so other apps can add it in. And so they've got something called Dash Chat, which I was talking to Eric Bear, the founder, about it, and he said it was cool to talk about it publicly, and so I shared the link on that. And I went and downloaded the app because it was on the website, until he realized that it was the link was on the website, because he was working on the website at that time. So I had to play around with it with Pedro. So it's working, and I won't go too much into about it, because they obviously will release it and talk about it when they're ready. But there's kind of quite a lot to unpack in there. And then obviously we've now got 3 Holochain organizations: Holochain Foundation, Holo Hosting, and Unit for the currency design. I will say that that's something that we had already arrived on too. And this is something that I haven't really talked a lot about publicly, but we've got HumHive, which is so creators can talk directly to their audience, and then we've got the mutual credit currency, and then we've got a payment system, and these are all separate organizations. And so
you're talking for something different than Holofuel currency. That is related. It's a payment system, or
so the mutual credit currency is specifically designed for creators, microtransactions for content creators, and then the payment system is to be able to get in and out of mutual credit and into different economic systems, so a bridge between different economic systems. And so we'll talk more about that again through the appropriate channels. And
interesting.
I guess the thing is important, with business revenues and income streams, it's important to. So I guess the context is we've done a lot of legal work with world-class legal teams over many years, from terms of service to setting things up and the structures, and we've decided for HumHive not to be a services company, not to handle the payments, and so that's been a large part of the decision to split things out, and then also having financial transaction control is a sorely needed thing right now. And again, this is the way Catherine Austin Fitz talks, and we're seeing it. through the world with banks, and we're seeing it through the banks shutting down crypto in Australia. You'll be seeing it in the Netherlands. And
in
so,
Europe in general.
yeah.
And the other
So
side, what's happening in the
covered
United
quite a lot of
States
ground
with
there.
stable coins, which is the other side of the coin. How decentralized is that? Yeah.
That's another topic. And I guess I wanted to use this podcast to speak more freely about personal thoughts on stuff. And, I feel a little bit bad, if I'm being honest, just kind of skipping over. You asked me a question about the payment system and what it's going to be. And I guess I'm just a little bit hesitant to talk about things before we release them and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, we are working on a payment system. So, and again, it's like, I guess one of the main things that I'm personally coming up against in the crypto industry and in general is everyone sounds like they're saying and doing the same thing now, and even though we're not, and especially with the rise of AI, everyone just plugs into AI and it spits out all of these grandiose things about what they're building. So, when we're building this payment system, to be the bridge between economic systems and, be your own bank and, agent-centric payments and having federated modules, so you can, have rails or ramps in between mutual credit and other systems. Yeah. Every crypto financial company talks about, unbanking and, rails and like all these kind of things. So it gets, and, it just gets lost a little bit, I think, so just working on messaging and saying things more clearly.
Yeah, because there is, you mentioned what brought you a little bit into the Holochain ecosystem already years ago, because there is a difference, and we're seeing what's happening with the Genius
Act in the US.
Act in the United States. This perhaps it's not really the right word, hijacked, because this is by design. These are very centralized currencies. There's nothing to do with the centralized banking at all, and it's we've seen it already years ago, which is also a positive side, I guess. And some might say that this is a positive aspect of it, that when certain funds can be very easily locked and just issued in a completely different way into just disappear from the wallets of institutions or hackers or some really bad actors, but as well as they can be used for control. And this is what's happening in the United States right now. And is there also a place left for something more decentralized, or can mutual credit currencies like fill that space, or is there, even because you've been quite busy also with the legal aspect of building in such a way business or platform, not even platform, because that is the whole aspect of what you're trying to do, that it's not going to be under control of the certain entity, because this is really the worst case scenario, because there is you could be shut down, or so is there, where is mutual credit currencies fitting in all this picture? What's happening in Europe, what's happening in the United States, what's happening down under in Australia, which is, I think, quite ahead in this whole scenario.
Yeah, so I guess there's a few things to touch on there. So I'm a very big proponent of going beyond platforms, and so I've been very vocal about this. This is one of the things I've figured out. I'm not really in, I know I'm active on social media now, but I wasn't on there for 10 years. And so I'm kind of not really that aware of what everyone else is saying, just so people know. But, and the other thing is, I don't really think that people understand what the term agent-centric means as well, and so I'm also working on a lot of messaging around that. because also when you say, oh, well, we're agent centric, every single person I talk to that's not a tech person is like, what does that, like, literally is just like, what does that mean? And so one of the things that we've done with Hum Hive is that because it's agent centric and not a platform, it means that you're setting up the ecosystem yourself, which is essentially a blank canvas. And then you install the connections, which are like plugins. And so what the idea is that you have that relationship directly with whatever service is being provided, whether it's hosting with Holo, whether it's payments, whichever payment system that you select. And so the double-edged sword with that is that everyone is used to everything being ready to go like a platform. As soon as you click the terms of service, everything spins up and boom, you're ready to go. And so we went in a different direction deliberately because I wasn't going to cut corners on that. Basically, that was a no-go zone for me, despite everyone telling me that that's a poor user experience, which is true. So right now, what we're in a mode of solving those friction points essentially, and finding novel ways to solve those friction points because they are too much. Because even things like people setting up their own domain and DNS, for a lot of people, that's too much.
It's a big step. That's a big step.
Yeah. And for people that want to get their publishing out to the world, the domain is very important, really important. And
that's not for everyone. So you need to bridge in between those two.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's a fine line. You don't want to get stuck in too much of like educating people, because it is very important. But then also, maybe you do need a temporary or a solution. Like I've been fighting very hard to not have to not have to set up another company that essentially handles that centralized place where people publish to, like what people do with Substack, where it's like on a joint domain or whatever, or a Holo hosting domain or whatever it is. So that may happen. But yeah, that was something that I was hoping not to have to achieve or to do. But getting back to what you're asking me, which was around what's going on in Australia and payments in general. And in Australia, they've been trying for a number of years to remove the ability to withdrawal over $10,000. Also,
in the Netherlands, it's 3,000. So going in that direction, euros. Same story.
And so, and then also they close people's accounts that have crypto accounts as well. And they start to make it. I mean, this is not like widespread or like an automated thing or anything like that, but it does definitely happen. Digital ID is another thing, and then also, our version of Reserve Bank stablecoin. So, and that's happening, and then wider. I know we're bouncing around here. We've got 6 years to cover, guys. So, there's a lot of. We've got fractal sovereignty to cover, and sovereignty is an issue on a number of layers right now, as we discussed in 2018.
But I don't know, for good or maybe bad, the direction has been, set there in motion. And even 6 years ago, we were talking about this, and we're just moving further down the road. It's been even this, like the COVID happened in between. I think just got accelerated. And there is also, you would say there is no way back. We're talking about digital IDs, and obviously we live in exponentially more and more digital world. And obviously, some people would say also with the United States going with the stable coins, which is like, it was a big move since Trump got elected and is in the White House. And all the people behind him, all the PayPal mafia, and you can go deep down the rabbit hole. But the thing is, okay, there is no way back. There is no other way further. You know, Europe is talking about digital euro because like all of a sudden like they're left behind as usual. Australia is doing it. Everybody is like India is super strict. You name it, and China's been ahead of everyone in a certain way, maybe a little bit different form and more focus on control. You would argue, but how much is the rest not focused on that?
Mm.
And I just read that the European Central Bank is experimenting maybe with digital euro. You know, maybe don't quote me here. I was going not so deep into it, but just came out maybe on public networks like Ethereum, maybe Solana. I'm not sure. So you know, it can go anywhere, and there is no way back. Digital ID will be there, and digital currencies will be there, issued by central banks, or what's happening in the United States. It's even more blurry by whom and what entities, because they're basically just few tech people behind it. But just connected, you know, you just throw one name like Peter Thiel out there, connected with so many. It's like a whole network of companies and interests and people in the government behind the government. So where is all this going? We don't know, but there's no way back. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear, to be honest. I think we do have a lot of information of where it's going, and I really encourage people to read the work of Whitney Webb and people in the Independent Media Alliance. You know, Catherine Austin-Fitz is a person that I'll mention a lot, you know, because you've got the $21 trillion missing and going, and Mark Goodwin, who's done a lot of work on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin dollar. You know, basically, you know, they've found a way for people like Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, I believe, of the US, if that's his role. You know, there's a lot of okay, so you know, they're using stable coins to buy US treasuries, to buy US debt, right? So
to issue it, basically.
Yeah, the way that they've legitimized crypto is they're bringing in stable coins and the more use that they get, the more US debt that gets bought. And so the backing of the stable coins is by is with US treasuries. And so what they plan to do is to export the US stablecoin to the world. So all of these local currencies then get on it, and then they're essentially financing the US.
Yeah.
And so
for them to issue debt, basically, they're buying debt by using. And this is also where the European Union and central banks say, "Holy, we're missing the boat here."
Yeah.
So let's do it. They're really accelerating. They're pulling all the pushing all the buttons to go as soon as this year. I had this waiting. Yeah.
And before we get too much further, I want to tackle something head on, because it's a pet peeve of mine in the Holochain community, and that's basically that people believe that by talking about real issues going on in the world based on the objective truth of, or the objective reality of what's actually happening, that is somehow not focusing on providing solutions, or it is somehow not as spiritually advanced. And I've got something to tell you, that is not the case. I used to think that, but it's New Age deception. And I'm aware that Art Brock has said things like, don't even worry about it, you know, the system will collapse by itself. All you've got to do is create a solution. Yes, we do have to create alternative pathways. Yes, what you focus on grows. And absolutely no, if you think that you can just idly sit by and allow things to happen and not say no. No is a very powerful word, and we all have to say no. We all have to call things out. We all have to state what the actual issue is and the underlying problems and create solutions. So the fact that Boyan and myself are here talking about what's going on in the world, don't for a second think that we just don't. We're just getting caught up in focusing on the negativity, because that's I strongly push back on that.
Actually, you might argue because some of us, some people have been in this world and this, kind of alternative, not just related to crypto, but essentially pretty much in relation with it for some people for a decade, for 10, 15 years, even, yeah, 10 for 15 years. And a lot of very passionate people, I would say smart people, and people who are interested in building something different. I've been part of this world, but in a certain way, they you might say they got sidetracked because you know just don't get involved in politics, don't get involved in what the big banks are doing, what the Wall Street is doing. Just do your thing. They'll come to you. People will realize they're just watching the numbers going big, getting some people getting into creating their own utopia. But in the same moment, a lot of people who otherwise would have been maybe going within to change it, even politics, even into the financial world, got sidetracked and busy with this. And in one moment, now we are where all these black rocks and micro strategies and governments are getting involved and basically taking over. So, in a certain way, this might be seen as, almost like a wasting almost a whole generation of people who otherwise perhaps would have changed from within, just been sidetracked. What you going to say about this? I mean, like, it's very partial,
I've got a lot to say
perspective,
about that.
but it's something to think about, because now I've seen people that, for example, I've been following for 10 years on Twitter, all of a sudden it's just like putting their suits and going to the White House and, not to say what doing with people's parts, just, to be on the same table with the big shots, which is, where are we going?
Yeah, 2017. So if people don't really know, I come from the gambling affiliate industry. So say what you will about that, but I started in poker, and it's one of the top 3 most competitive industries in the world, and so we rose to the top of that, and exited. And so I've got quite a lot of experience with dealing with certain types of people, from the casino world. So 2017, and this is a bit of a personal story, I guess, but I did, I took my life in a different direction, and I decided to do whatever I could to create something worthwhile in a positive direction, right? And so, and that took me to Colombia, to doing sweat lodges and vision quests and this kind of thing. So I'm, living on a sacred mountain, living in the bush, doing my thing. 2017 comes, and I show up to Singapore, the big crypto conference, in my cowboy hat, doing my shaman thing, tuning in, bro, just sensing the energies, and just to see what's going on. And people were just off their heads with, I don't know how to describe it, but the I'm looking for the correct word, but basically it was at the time where Bitcoin was going past $10,000 for the first time. And people were just beside themselves with, getting all of the upside on that. They're banging into tables, and they kind of they from an energetic level, people were just not fully present. That if you know what I mean, like there was some other stuff going on there, and so I end up at this party, this rooftop party, with Brock Pierce on stage, off his head. And there's a pool there with the pink unicorns, and I'm just standing there, and I had a pretty big realization that this is I mean, not that I didn't know this already, but pretty clear, intuitive stuff going on there, that there's something larger at play here, and this is not a good crowd whatsoever. And if you want to know more, I encourage you to look up Brock Pierce and Brock Pierce's history, and with Tether, and Howard Lutnick is now involved with Tether and the U.S. Treasuries
and the White House, and it's great.
And Howard Lutnick is the old next door neighbor to Jeffrey Epstein, and also talks about selling $500 trillion worth of US resources. And people think that that's great. People think that that is, bringing in the US economy into the 21st century or whatever. And I'm not part of the US, so I'm just a foreign commentator.
Yeah.
But basically, the way that they're going to do this is through public-private partnership.
Yeah, funneling it through private companies.
Which is why these steel crowds have been set up.
And they've been stuck on the top of each other. They've been stuck on top of each other. It's so difficult even to see where it's really based. It's just, it's a work that's been going on for, it's not from yesterday. It's not since like Trump is in the White House. This is for like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And,
I am, because of the way the world is right now, I need to state it again as well, like I did this other comment. I don't care about your politics. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. I'm not left or right or whatever you think that it is, blah, 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 blah. What I care about is individual sovereignty and freedom. And even in this Holochain world, where it's all about, the commons and collective intelligence and all this kind of thing,
the higher perspective,
we start with individual sovereignty and freedom, and then that expands from there, right? We all have to take the individual choice for radical responsibility, and from there, that extends outwards. Those things aren't granted by a third party. Those things aren't granted by whatever it is. And so this is why Harmon and everything that I do is strongly focused on this agent-centric pattern, rather than starting at the group level. Yes, of course, this is about coming together and doing something larger than ourselves and to create positive outcome for everyone. But just slapping on, collective something and commons, that's also that I've been around this stuff for far too long to know that that's very problematic. I know plenty of indigenous groups around the world. I know plenty of systems that have been set up that have at the UN level, at indigenous groups going to The Hague, going on national level, international level, working on things to do with related to the commons. And while I'm not saying that I disagree with like the idea of it or the implementation of it, fully or whatever it is, and this, we'll get into this conversation another time, but just slapping on like let's all come together with the collective and the commons is like that's also not correct. So I know I'm not really saying a whole lot there, but we have to start with being free on an individual level to be free on a collective level.
I think that's what we're doing with this podcast right now. I honestly, as I told you, been a little bit out of following closely what has been happening, especially in the past 12 to 14 months. And I see that, I noticed that you've been a little bit more involved also on social media and also in the Telegram, like basically the Holochain channels, at least the one I'm following. And I was also knowing you, doing this podcast, and was a little bit being involved in the past with him. I was also like, curious and surprised that you're doing this, and in a way, also being involved in the past. I was also part of the kind of like the volunteer comms team years ago. I can't even, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I know how much energy that can cost, and like how much, how little real communication is there, and how much frustration at times, and sometimes just dealing with purely people having very negative approach to anything that is said, and questioning everything over and over and over. It's like how did you see you being involved in that way in the past few months?
Yeah, so I guess good question. So I was off social media for a good 10 years. Well, I don't actually even know how long. Well, I just use the term 10 years. So it's not something, I just I don't like social media. I'm just going to be honest. But at the same time, I recognize where things are at in the world right now. Also, it comes back to this kind of radical responsibility. Just sitting up on the mountain and trying to be like a monk on a mountain and meditate it away or something. That also doesn't create real change. In a grounded way. So you've got to be in it as well. And so I did a course, how to become the true media with Mark Passio. There's another one starting in January. Highly recommend it. It's got a whole body of work. And this is kind of actually, this is what's led to us over the past weeks deciding to redo this podcast, because getting our voices out there is a key part of the taking action. So the taking action is really what it's about. And I think that right now we've all got a real issue around narrative and the story and the storytelling. And from the very beginning with it's always been about preserving natural law, which are wisdom stories and creating an alignment with nature, and then also and so the issue that one of the issues that is going on right now is that even in the Holochain community, everyone is really divided. And I've even touched on some of these subjects. So there's just a lot of education that needs to happen, and not to put myself on a high horse, because yes, I'm still learning. Yes, there's a lot of work that I can still do as well. But for example, this podcast has already gone all over the place. But even you talk about Bitcoin, and you talk about the true intent of Bitcoin, and you post links to that, and people have got to like take the time to actually go and learn these things, like the hijacking of Bitcoin and how Bitcoin has not become true P2P cash. And no, just because like Lightning Network or whatever, no, like there's a deeper story here, you know. And then that's just one subject. And then, you know, I already mentioned things like the commons. I already mentioned things like you know, like speaking, you know, saying no to things. You know, I think that on some level people think that saying no to things is less spiritual or it's like not as inclusive. But I think one of the downfalls of one of the things that's gone wrong with Holochain is their inability to say no because they want to be inclusive because of some of that stuff. And then also there's a narrative around mutual credit. You know, there's a narrative around. I don't think people really understand why blockchain has not worked or not scaled or not, you know, whatever. I think that the narrative around Bitcoin as being strong on their part, even though it's incorrect. I think that people still think that, you know, and blockchain has done some things, don't get me wrong. And even, you know, the direction of Holochain currently and us with our payment system being able to go between different economic systems, you know, that will be a part of it. You know, being able to get in and out of mutual credit into different blockchains and different, you know, protocols and all of that kind of thing. Yeah. But and you know, one of the reasons why I started this thread and got feedback from people like Stephen Alexander, and we'll have him on the podcast, is because people, you know, mutual credit has been around for decades, and also, you know, it's an ancient thing as well, or maybe not so ancient, but I mean, like, you know, 5,000 years or whatever, but you know, not, you know, like hundreds of thousands of years or something.
Well, that's how it is also in nature. It's like it's about balance. It's not creating tokens and having some limited supply, but it's basically just equalizing, always bringing back down to the basic, to the zero, to a neutral state. That's what it's based on. That is the universe. That's nature. That's energy. You call it, not to go too far, but that's what mutual credit is. It's not just some limited supply of tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this comes down to, and again, you know, we're kind of like just touching on a lot of subjects, and we'll get, I promise you guys, we'll get deeper into some subjects in the future time because, you know, bear with us. We've got 6 years of bouncing around. You know, we will get better at podcasting. But you know, like for example, like the narrative around scarcity being the form of value. Actually, no, scarcity is not an inherent value of nature, actually. And so, you know, you have a mutual credit design where you have 1 billion tokens, for example, and people are like, oh, there's 1 billion, that's worthless. Like, that's literally the first and last thought that people will have because of how strong the narrative is. And so that's part of what we're coming up against.
It's not only 21 million.
Yeah.
It's a billion. So we have to separate it. It's just so out of what it's about.
But I mean, like we're laughing about it, but that's literally the case. And so part of what we've got to do is then go to investors and the wider market, and people are like, oh, that's 1 billion. Like, yeah.
I remember when I was part of the course that I really had to I had somewhere in my computer or on my phone, like to copy paste, like guys, you know, it's like some basic arithmetics. My son is 10 years old and I'm helping him with, it's just that level that we're dealing with, but it's where we are, numbers, and everybody wants to watch the numbers go high, and it's just, it's like we're stuck there. Always will be. So everybody has that aspect.
So I think that people don't know why Bitcoin hasn't worked. I think people don't know why blockchain hasn't worked. I think people don't know why currency hasn't worked and the issuance of currency. I don't think people on the negative side of Holochain really understand why they're doing what they're doing. and at the same time, there are people that are involved in Holochain that are negative for the right reasons as well. So we need to acknowledge that, because, I think some people want to dismiss people's problems with delays and stuff like that. But, I'm one of the people that's got a problem with stuff too. So why would I dismiss people, So I'm not here to try and whatever. And then it's on the other side of the equation, you have people that alienate or you have the people that do know what Holochain's about, but then they're going about it in a completely wrong way, in my opinion, as well. And then it just creates more division as well. And then you have this kind of echo chamber in the Holochain ecosystem where everyone just kind of goes at each other, where it's where it's almost like a purity contest. And it doesn't at all bring in new people or appeal to a wider audience. And one of the things that we need to do now is to appeal to a wider market, to bring more people in, to let everyone know about mutual credit, to let people know about why blockchain isn't working, let them know about what are the issues with crypto and blockchain, and acknowledge right now with what's going on with the lack of financial transaction control and things like digital ID coming in, you have this panopticon of decentralized private companies pretending to be doing something ethical and great for the world, not delivering at all, or delivering dystopian outcomes. And then Holochain are coming along and are essentially saying, we don't want to say no, we want to be inclusive, we want to be neutral, we want to be like HTTP, or we want to be like I forget what the analogy was, but it's they just basically want to be a neutral protocol. And I don't know if that's going to work, to be honest with you, because as I shared, you asked me about social media, and I'll circle back to that, but things like nature ID being built, the tracking of everything with smart devices, the carbon credit systems, the using these decentralized services to bring them together for a digital ID, and so you have what looks like a decentralized movement with everything plugging into each other into another version of a centralized model to bring in complete digital dystopia and control system, really. So let's just be honest. If you can't see that that's what's being built around us, then I don't know what to tell you. So we need, and this is kind of gets back to another conversation that I had on socials around. And one gentleman, he was actually one of the. I actually had a half of a decent conversation with him, which is very hard to do on X these days. But it's somewhat based around Holochain being in BVR, the British Virgin Islands, and how, as a currency company and supposedly doing something ethical, why would an accounting company or a currency company be in some dodgy jurisdiction like that without regulations? And obviously they're there to hide shit. It's like it's not the case. I mean, it's not the case in I've dealt with lawyers. I'm friends with one of the Holochain lawyers personally. I've talked to him at length about some of this stuff. That's like I don't know. I don't know what to tell people. I understand how there's financial shenanigans and there's crypto shenanigans, especially, and I guess it's like the gaslighting is on one level is so out of control that you've got a couple of Quakers who are the founders of Holochain building something as an alternative to the crypto dystopia and the blockchain dystopia. And you've got us who didn't raise money from third parties because we wanted to build something real first and to prove things in real time so you could actually tangibly have it. And yet the narrative somehow is that Holochain itself is a scam and that there's nothing real.
Yeah.
And
at least there's enough track record for these years, but none of this is, and just people keep going around and around. But at least that much credit can be given that this is not the case. I mean, just look at the past few years.
But I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, on one, at a base level, you just got to laugh it off because it's, you engage in it and it's, just giving it that this is the kind of thing where you're just giving it more energy or whatever. But it's like, certainly, after 8 years, we could have done a lot of different things too, which would have been easier than the path that we've taken. But yes, and I guess that's kind of something to talk about as well. I don't think really that projects people really understand that the challenges that projects have had when you're working on cutting edge technology, and everyone, as soon as Holochain make a release, it's like, oh, well, the next week you're meant to have all of this stuff. And it's like, the ground has been moving under us for years, and you're working with several different technologies that are in alpha and beta, and
and being scrapped away.
You do it.
Also, a lot of people moving. It's been, I can witness it myself, being for a while part of the team that there's been a lot of work put in, and I sometimes see also on the socials people not that they have to give any credit, but actually questioning it in the first place, which is it is. I can imagine frustrating, but it's just part of, I guess, of how it goes. And also, people, as you said, people have really, in general, many people accurately are questioning certain aspects, but it's so difficult to navigate. And I can sometimes understand why, Arthur and Eric are a little bit, just keeping their heads down and doing their thing. And, even it might look sometimes, being up on the hill and, not engaging. There are you could argue if that is really what's happening, and if it's happening, if it's positive or negative. And but the fact is that it's been already 8 years, and it could be frustrating sometimes, because if you don't have to go even so deep down into the rabbit hole, it's not even a rabbit hole. It's just obvious out there that Holochain and mutual credit has so much to offer, and there is so much could be built upon it, and just ecosystem of applications, and not even to call it businesses. It's just so much that basically blockchain has failed, and it became, I don't know what it became. Certainly, it's a good way to argue that it's not a failure. But I was just passed something through my mind. But I remember, 2013, 14, when I was just reading some articles in Wired.com about Bitcoin and decentralized ledgers. There was people like, maybe even I don't know if you know him, but most of the people have never heard of him. But there was this guy Andreas, was a Greek name, Antonopoulos or something. He just disappeared, and he was like, I remember even some people still would share a video of him of empty room, like talking about Bitcoin and this decentralized currencies, 2011 and 12. And these people disappeared. And now we're talking about microsellers like who are building some kind of Ponzi's on Bitcoin. It's just crazy how everything shifted. And like people like Trump and the those the PayPal guys around him and the real voices just went quiet. Why? What happened? And this happened like the past 6 7 years, which may, for many people is like eternity maybe, but no, like 2014 15, it was different world. And
Yeah.
that brought a lot of people also to Holochain. It still is just really like, as I said, for me personally, my personal journey, I've been in and out from the whole this, I've been deeply involved in some projects in the past and went out and had burnouts and decided just to focus on my family, do my thing, get back to daily job. But I always like, even I would say even goes deeper, the connection with Holochain than with Bitcoin, even though, my initial involvement was in that world. So it could be frustrating. I could understand the people who's been there for years, and even if it's just that they hold the the hot token and watch the numbers go up, they still are involved in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's especially we've been for years. Things start going through. What it's about than just the numbers. So it has been, yeah, quite a while for many people. And you can go down into the Turkish community that went through a lot. And you can't just judge the people if they're there for the technology or for watching the numbers go up. They still are involved, and it's very important. And sometimes also being in the in the past involved with the communications, I see that certain people, and it's also has a positive aspect, they will just ignore that noise. And for certain people that works. But if it becomes like just like the narrative, the main narrative for like organization, it's not helping anyone. It's neither you are out of it, up, doing whatever, building and, writing all this code, which is incredible if you see like compared to so many other uh, networks and projects, how much work has been done. But, you know, ignoring is not being above it. It's like you need to, it is to be in as well. And
Yeah.
this has been frustrating. And I can imagine it's part of what brought you being a little bit more active as well, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess I'm putting my hand up and being visible, for a number of reasons. No one else is, so there's that. So I'm out there amongst it. And I guess part of what's going on as well is that in a way I'm deliberately talking about things that aren't directly Hum Hive related from the Hum Hive socials because of what some of these subjects are, like around narrative and stuff like that. So that's also something that I'm figuring out in real time, because there are a lot of conversations to be had around mutual credit and the wider crypto industry and all of that. And so it's not just like, Hum Hive did this update kind of stuff, because a lot of what we do is to do with story and media and narrative and storytelling and all that kind of thing. So, you know, I kind of see a bit of a responsibility on my part to kind of help steer things in the right direction with all of that. But there's a lot of work for all of us to do, and that's part of what this podcast is. To and why we've for the last weeks, we decided a few weeks ago to bring this back to life. Being the first Holochain podcast.
Yeah.
Um,
To start it without any agenda. Even I posted you a message before we jump on
yeah.
this recording. Like, do we have a topic? It's wide open. Let's just open it and excuse us if we've been all over the place. But it's
Yeah, I mean, I think I just wanted to, before we kind of wrap up, I guess I just, I feel like, I'm still realizing myself that I've got a unique position, being an early investor, having, first company, building and getting, prototype out there, and having a team and all that kind of thing, building a mutual credit currency with a unit, working with the core team, like people like David Atkinson, with payment system. So being around here for a while, and I think, and you've also been here from the beginning as well. So I think it's important for people to see real things happening, underneath, and
absolutely.
I guess from the inside, guys, the inside is that it's we're getting there. Things like refactors take time. People like Dark Soil are doing great work, which will open up things like mobile. That's why we decided to refactor, like a while ago now. But this is why, this is why we've done things like that. And since Holochain and Holo have moved into, 3 companies to do more iterative updates, in my opinion, things are much better. Still a lot of work to be done. Still, same mistakes being made. It's a touchy subject. It's interesting because everyone's kind of, in a way, like everyone's kind of looking out for their own personal interests or in business interests. Or I guess what I want to say is, like, what I find is that, what do I want to say? This is tricky. Like, people are more strategic on what they say and how they say it, rather than saying it how it is, because everyone's like trying to, I don't know, have good relationship. Like, if there's a problem, say that there's a problem. Everyone's kind of playing the game where they want to, like, keep their relationship. Like, they don't want to say anything bad about Holochain, for example, because they've got to have a good relationship or something like that, and then it creates this ecosystem where, it's not healthy, and I think that's been going on for a while.
It is it's something that is we've been talking, and it is true that this is really like a long term. It's a marathon, and it's just the long shot. But what sometimes is really necessary, and it's something like, for example, I can see you having it more in hum, is the startup mode, the entrepreneurship, like also the short term, like, let's just get this ball moving to the next base, not just like, okay, let's keep the ball rolling, because like this is like, for many of these people, is their life work, and it's just gonna continue with like the next generation, which is amazing. That's why we're here. But also, let's just get the ball to the next, not just keep it, throw it to the next base, which is risky. It will involve a lot of mistakes. And the most important thing, there needs to be like someone to step up and take responsibility also for the failure, also for the success. Like, and this, I see it happening everywhere nowadays around the world. I see it on the level of like school of my child. I have like a young child still going in primary school. I see it in politics. Nobody's taking responsibility of anything. It's just like, and things are just stagnating after a while. And I'm not saying it's exactly like that with Holo and with Holochain. You know, you mentioned David Atkinson. There are so many people that are really active out there and really on a daily basis busy. It's not just like a part-time kind of a school project at all, but also like, let's get the ball to the next
Yeah.
base. Just let's throw it, not just keep it, throw it out. And yeah.
And I think it's touching on a really important point because, and it's kind of related to my previous company, which is we always invested profits back into the company based on real users, based on activity. So you've got to generate, you've got to be generative. You've got to like create real business, real revenue. You've got to yes, it's going to take a little bit longer. Yes, we're all working on it, but yes, we need to start getting business cases out there. And even in what we're building, like it's not about having a clever marketing campaign. It's about demonstrating that creators can be paid well and earn, and that you can have a viable economy and people can make a living from being a creator in this new way. And we have to prove that. And people, okay, we can talk about nature and we can talk about, this is going to change technology and this is going to reshape media and, mutual credit is the future. And, we need, all of these things. But on a really basic level, people have got to, and yes, we have to go beyond usury. We have to go beyond money. We have to have these new economic models. It's not that I'm unaware, guys. I'm creating the alternative. But people that just want to use it and make money, you have to have a system to be able to provide them so they can get involved, and then that can be used as marketing because you have something real. Like, everyone else can, and it sounds like I'm salty in some way, but the people that were, when I started my previous business with $40 and then created an 8-figure company, the people that I started going against were spending $50,000 a month just on improving their businesses. But the comparison now is that everyone's going and raising $125 million and then doing absolutely nothing and then moving on to the next thing.
Or move to the next round to raise it to $2 billion.
And so,
and nobody's shipping. Nobody's doing anything.
But then the narrative is somehow that they've done something real because you can trade some tokens and do some DeFi and do some staking and have an NFT or something. And again, it sounds like I am salty. Maybe I am, but it's like we haven't gone down that path. We've done it ourselves and we're building something real. So then, when you have something real, then that can create change. So things need to shift on a lot of levels.
Yeah, but money is like the glue. It's like it's like a building part, not the glue. It's like it's not the goal. And actually, all these people say, "Oh, you feel money involved and stuff." They're too focused on money, being against money. It's just crazy. It's like when you see, it's like, am I crazy? No, it's like it is part of the story, and it's not the most important, but you need it to move on. It's like. It's and having businesses, having something that's it's like having something living and breathing, and sometimes it's like a Frankenstein. It's just a monster and it takes over, but that's the risk. But just standing up on the top of the mountain and just like, oh no, I don't want to be part of this world, and let's wait for the universe to fall in a black hole. It's like, okay,
So I guess the last thing I just wanted to touch on is, I guess one of the sentiments that I agree with the salty people is like, and not that they don't care, but I just want to say that I care. I care about other people's money. I care about other people's investments, and I appreciate the people that have invested and that are around. And part of the reason why I and we didn't raise money when we did, and that I funded things
You're talking
to a
about
great,
hum.
yeah, is big. But on an individual level as well, is that you talk about the Turkish community, for example, and their investments and all that kind of thing. Like I care about people's money. I care about my money, and I feel like one of the things that can be improved is it's like there's a lot of talk about mutual relationships, but I feel like in a range of ways things are very one-sided, and so it's like do stuff for us for free because we're doing something good for humanity, and or like give us your money for investment and because we're good people, but it's got to be reciprocated,
It
And I
has
know
to
that
be.
that's somewhat trying, but yeah, there's some things to say there. And you mentioned the Turkish community being especially affected. I want to go to Turkey in 2026 myself, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that
It's a
up
wonderful.
because I think people are, and it's not just about the price. The team's not in control of the price. Like people are working hard, so it's not that. But I think there's just a general sentiment that people, it's also almost like if you care about it, you're somehow an asshole because
I think it's also communication kind of issue. In a way, it's not a bad intention per se. It's not. I don't want anyone really wants to insult anyone, but it comes up as like arrogant and like top to bottom, and it's weird. And also to mention because you said that you are investor, that to mention because you're not doing this yourself, but you're investor, of course, in the ICO, but you have invested a lot. I mean, you've invested the past how many years of your life into building Hum and like really Holochain based and so much effort and a lot of money. I know a little bit what it's about. Perhaps it's not something to be discussed open, but I mean, this is a way to invest and not just, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to hold the token, but also investing your time, effort, and a lot of money and into this. And it's important to have more people like this, not just marginalize them like that they're in for the money and stuff, but like
of course, yeah,
it's how it goes.
And then you play just to play the other side of the same argument is that then you talk about what is going well, and then people want to act like I'm just glazing because I'm a project and I'm ignoring all of the things. It's like, do you guys like know anything about I'm literally the guy who's like yelling at everyone for years and pissing everyone off
pouring
because
money into it. Yeah,
because
exactly.
I'm the
And
one
when
that's
it
like
yeah,
because I'm the one that's like actually saying stuff when everyone else is not, and then
opening your mouth. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and risking my personal relationships to say what is right, and then everyone
And
turns
then
around
you're
to
the
me
show.
yeah, it's like
Upside down. Yeah, so
and then I have
in a way it's beautiful, but yeah.
and then I have people on Twitter saying to me like, "Oh, are you even invested? Like, what do you do?" And
Yeah, it's like you're like some guys in some like one of these nomad guys that get like $50 a day just to click on stuff and
no, guys,
living in the Philippines.
I'm just here up in the clouds talking about
Yeah,
going beyond money, and it's all about mutual credit or nothing. Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Mm. Yeah, but it's everybody's work. I mean, it's beautiful in a way that people are expressing themselves, but just not to attack, especially when you're putting your energy into it. And some people, you know, are getting frustrated because also they put a lot of time and energy, and in one moment they just flip.
Yeah. And the other
And
thing is, like, like that's, this is not poor me thing or anything like that. Like, like this is something that I signed up for. This is something that I want. But I'm
yeah,
also like very excited about the direction things are going. And from a business perspective, I'm here to get the upside as well. Like I'm here for great treasures based on real
yeah,
value. Like that's not the. I could have done anything for money. Like that's not the overall point here. Like the point is to create something worthwhile. But at the same time, like
mm,
the thing is to create something worthwhile based on real economic activity, which is why we like mutual credit. And
mm.
to have somewhere where you can publish freely. It's like very important. Like I mean, I know everyone talks about like free speech and freedom this and sovereignty that.
Yeah,
But like the point, like like the fact of the matter is that people end up using centralized systems because they're easier,
yeah.
and
After
and,
all
and
these
they get all these,
years,
and then they become a platform because it's easier, and they use blockchain because it's easier.
yeah.
It's
And
like
after all these years, it's still not there. There's nothing
yeah,
there. It's like
yeah.
address that.
Oh, well,
It's
you
just
use Signal. Well, big deal. Signal's not, Signal's not even like
yeah, but
it's
we're talking about publishing. It's your own. It's not just sharing messages
yeah,
and chatting. It is really publishing. Like, and it's not out there. I mean, like all these years, like
yeah. And I just
15
want to like
years.
make
It's
something
since the
like
beginning there.
we're in 1999 internet style. The reason why I want to say that is like you know you start publishing and you know it's got like what, there's the user in crypto, as you know, is quite challenging for most people, right? Because of how technical it is. And so I think just to frame things right, and this is something that we'll be doing communications on or whatever, but you know, right now, like you really have to think about it being like 1999 internet style, where it's like, oh, cool, you can publish to the internet, because technology, like to actually get these systems working where you're in full control of it, and it's it might not look like much. It's like groundbreaking, but doesn't look like much. And so that's why we've got a lot of
Mm.
storytelling to do. Because
Yeah, yeah.
on one
To
level
educate
where
each
yeah,
other,
yeah,
basically,
yeah,
and not
yeah, and that's
educate the other, but just to share these
yeah,
stories. But that's why also, like most of the people have never sent a single transaction from like self-hosted wallet or something, which like few years ago, it was like you really had to like run your own notes and to it was kind of a thing. And I'm talking this as someone that is really like almost on a very low technical level person. It's just how I am, always have been. But it's fascinating. And on that level, this is where like the sovereignty where you are it, everything is in your own hands, and not just because to hide from some higher authorities, do some illegal or like conspiracy things, simply because this is a thing very almost primordial in us humans, to be able to do things digitally. How it's like the example is like go and put a seed and grow your own food in the back garden or something
hmm
on that level involved, not just to go to the fucking shop to buy your food, which is beautiful, perfect. We can do that, but also that you can grow your own garden, your own veggies, and this is where crypto was supposed to play a big role, not just BlackRock's investing your pension funds and whatever, which is beautiful as well. You know, everybody's welcome. Nothing against it per se, too big. But is this all? And also with publishing, yes, it is difficult. You have to, you mentioned you need to have your own domain and to host it, but that's what it's about, And there is a lot of people who don't even realize this is where the education is, that this is actually a problem, even in their own life. Not that we want to make them all, like you have to suffer, People just are not aware. And this is where the education has to come. And there was this great educator I mentioned, um, Andreas, who disappeared. He was a great educator. It was amazing. And now we're just busy with some Ponzi's and quick, like Kanye West putting up a coin out there that it has a lifespan of literally 30 seconds or like 30 minutes and it's dead. It's like, is this where we are? Is this, I mean, like the president of the United States started the shit coin.
Yeah. We're here for fractal
What
sovereignty,
the hell?
not for the
Yeah.
not for the technocracy digital control grid.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
Yeah.
great to reconnect, Boyan. Really great to be back here. Great to be doing a Holochain podcast. Appreciate you guys. Sign up, like, subscribe, send it around to all of the channels, and much love. See you guys again next week. Ciao for now. Bye bye.